Hey everyone, my name's Trapixium, and this week I want to discuss something I found to be interesting when it comes to discussion of the Magic story as of late. Character arcs. Every time someone has discussed who is going to die in War for the Spark, the following phrase has been used. It's natural in their character arc. Now, I want to point something out here before we get started that everyone is entitled to their honest opinion. I want to explore the character arcs of the characters of the Gatewatch and most notably of old Snakeface himself. Let's see if it's really natural with their character arc. But first, let's get acquainted with what a character arc is. According to K.M. Weiland's book, Creating Character Arcs, there are 3 character arc methods. Positive arc, where a character undergoes a positive change as a result of the events of the story, a common trope being called the lie the character believes, being the commonmost form of the arc. In short, as events of the story roll by, the character's worldview changes as a result of what they see, do, feel, realize, and slowly coming out of the lie they believed and coming upon the truth. The negative arc, where a character undergoes a negative change as a result of the events of the story. Now, if the positive arc's common trope was the lie the character believes, the negative's common trope would be the lie the character develops, where instead of spending the story coming to the realization of the truth, the character finds themselves falling deeper into a lie they themselves have come to believe. And lastly, the flat character arc, where the other 2 arcs are set in the character believing a lie, the flat arc subverts this, and has the character already knowing the truth. They don't change, however, they put the character in what they view as a lie-burdened world. Now, we have 2 versions of the flat arc, the positive flat and the negative flat. Both of these come down to how the character interacts with the world itself. Positive flats want to change the world for the betterment as they dismiss the lies the world's tangled in, whereas the negative flat wants to change the world for the worse as they are twisted by the lies that propagate the world. So, if we were to take this method and put it in the context of the Gatewatch and our old friend Mr. Snakeface, let's see what happens. Let's start with the main character of contention right now in War of the Spark, Liliana Vess. Alright, so at the beginning of Liliana's story post-Spark Ignition, we kinda see she has fallen to her vanity, and according to the rules of the color pie and being a mono-black planeswalker, she is frankly quite narcissistic, she's ambitious, and she's willing to do anything it takes in her old age to reclaim her youth and power. She goes as far as signing away her soul in exchange for the power and youth she had, because she believes in her mind all she needed was the power and the youth she had, and it was something worth staving off death for. She wasn't ready to die yet, and she wanted to be young and powerful again. Classic case of death denial. Seen it all the time. Unburdened by death and completely free to do whatever she wants, this is a good entry point for her actions going forward. As time goes by, Liliana very clearly did not like being in debt to demons, but without a way to stop them, she sunk further into her own lie. She needs more power in order to solve her problems. Thus, she acquires the Chained Veil, kills Culpafed and Grizzlebrand before experiencing her first breakthrough as a result of her actions. In acquiring the Veil, she has gained a connection to it she cannot free herself of. It's at this point either she is indebted to demons for the rest of her existence, or she's taken by the spirits of the Veil down the road once the contract is ended. Liliana goes off and does something that is the next step in her arc. She finds Jace and asks for help. But wait, if she had enough power to deal with her problems, why does she need help? Aha! See? Liliana has a positive character arc. As time has gone by in her story, Liliana has come to realize that you can't use power to solve all your problems. Sometimes you need help from others. The lie she's believed was proved to be false, but now, as recompense for her actions, she must face a choice: betray her friends and help Bolas, or save her friends and die as a result of her contract. But remember what I said about the Veil earlier. Either the contract kills her, or the Veil will. In this case, we come to a thrilling conclusion revolving around her story. If she dies to Bolas, the Veil wins out, but if she stays with Bolas, the arc is meaningless. Which do you think will happen in the end? My bet is the Veil will take control of her. It's been hinted at that the Anak want a new host. Maybe all they need is a vacancy. Next, we have Jace Beleren. Okay, so call me crazy, but I don't think Wizards has the sand to kill off the character they now have so closely associated with their brand that he is now in the New Zealand Mint. Okay, I bet you a lifetime supply of chicken nuggets.
Don't think I won't, man. Don't think I won't.
But in case I end up wrong, let's talk about Old Blue's story. See, Jace is an interesting case because most of his own life, he doesn't remember himself. But we do. Jace's mind has always been tampered with. Granted, he himself is a gifted telepath. He's been known to wipe his own memory just to either survive, cope, or in some cases, just because he can. But why? Well, it mostly comes down to who Jace is, and how he sees himself. Jace is no stranger to making the wrong decisions, whether it be his time in the Infinite Consortium, objectively not caring who he uses his mental magic on, blackmailing Ravnican so he himself can live a life of luxury, or just outright unknowingly assisting in the release of cataclysmic Eldrazi on Zendikar. Jace wants to forget what he's done. Maybe in doing so, he'll clear his conscience. It is until we see Jace regain all of his memories on Ixalan that we see his arc come full circle. Jace takes responsibilities for his actions in keeping the memories he tried so hard to repress and forget and wipe away, and decides instead to make a positive change in the multiverse and clear his conscience in the only way he can: bring down Bolas. Jace's character arc isn't complete yet, because he is yet to do one last thing. He hasn't made the change his arc requires. If he were to die here in War of the Spark, now? Ugh. It'd be a total waste. At least with Liliana, there's an ultimatum in her case, but if Jace dies, his arc goes wholeheartedly unsatisfied. Moving on to none other than Gideon Jura. Alright, so this is another contentious one, because everyone has been screaming since God knows how long that Gideon gonna die. Alright, so Hazaret said it, the transition in War of the Spark was through Gideon's chest. They gave him the soul-drinking Black Blade, and wait a second, the Black Blade. Gideon? Hold on a second here. Pause right now. Gideon is gonna live. Alright, so think about what Hazaret said to Gideon. Immortal hands. Eternals aren't immortal. They're undead. Bolas isn't even immortal at this point. The Elder Spell ritual won't be allowed to be completed. Obviously. We'll touch on that in a second. Unless the book or set tells a different story. Also, consider this for a second. Why on earth would you return an old artifact to the forefront of the story, much less the Black Blade, and give it to a character you're about to kill? That doesn't make any sense to me. Gideon is gonna die. That much is clear, but I don't think it's gonna be here. But with that being said, overall, Gideon's arc, I don't think has been satisfied. He has unfinished business on Theros as a result of the death of the Irregulars. Overall, Gideon's arc has him constantly trying to protect others. He doesn't leave someone behind. However, as of late, Gideon, thanks to Bolas, has been taught that maybe, just maybe, he can't save everyone. This is perfect knockback for his arc, so that he can prove him wrong. Gideon's arc is flat. It's a matter of how he interacts with the world. Like on Amonkhet when he undertakes the trials. He's faced with the reality of his crop being slaughtered by his own fellow cropmates. He doesn't waver, nor does he stop trying to save his fellow cropmates, even saving Jeru from being killed by Hazaret. Everywhere he goes, he tries to make life better, as stated by his positive, flat arc. Next we have Nissa Ravain, and this is going to be a fun one. Longtime viewers of this channel know I am no fan of Nissa. Nissa's whole story has been very up and down, whether it be her unleashing the Eldrazi or leaving the Gatewatch because she's sick of Liliana's ulterior motives. One thing I noticed throughout her time period is that Nissa doesn't trust easily. She's a very proud individual, and I think that coincides with the hard retcon she got after Magic Origins. But that's not the question. Nissa's arc began with her believing that elves were better than any other tribe, but through her connection to the ley lines and working with the Gatewatch, she has learned that it's not the race that makes the individual exceptional, it's the values the individual carries that makes them exceptional. As time has gone by, she has gone through changes in terms of her outlook and even color identity. I want to point out that she is yet to do the one thing yet. She is yet to shed that lie she has brought herself to believe. Another positive character arc that isn't finished yet. I'll leave it on the note that while Nissa accepts worlds and ley lines and loves the nature of every plane, she is yet to accept the people of those planes for who they are. Next we have Chandra. Okay, so this one's a bit unfair because for those who aren't aware, IDW's Chandra comic series takes place after this set. Chandra does in fact survive War of the Spark, but that doesn't mean she didn't learn anything either. Chandra's whole character arc has been based on her garnering greater control over her pyromancy and becoming a stronger individual overall. She has her mentor in Jaya and a confidant in Ajani, but as we see in the comics, she's been feeling guilt and a great deal of pain after what happened on Ravnica. I'm not sure what happened. I have my theories though. Please don't kill Jaya. Regardless, Chandra is a character with a positive arc. We see her struggle with who she is as a person and as a multiplanar being. She is driven to become her ideal self, but I don't think she realizes what that's gonna take. Her arc reminds me of something out of Dragon Ball Z where the character has to go through a lot of suffering in order to grow beyond where they are. That doesn't take away from her arc though. Growth through suffering makes strong characters. I think it's safe to say Chandra's about to suffer a bit. Moving on. So, Ajani is next, and again, this is another very unfair pick because, again, IDW's Chandra comic features the albino Leonin, so it's abundantly clear that he survives the war. Ajani's whole arc has grown and changed as time has gone by. Since he never got to avenge Jazal, I think Ajani had time to grow and mature from that point forward, and after witnessing the Conflux's chaotic results on Alara, Ajani has resolved to make everything in the multiverse find its place in harmony, even those that could traverse it like Elspeth. But when the god she was so loyal to struck her down on Theros even after she risked their life for them, well, he decided he didn't need vengeance. Rather, he needed a cause. So, he made the denizens of Theros turn away from the gods. Ajani loves causes. He joined the Gatewatch for that reason in my mind. He took up the cause of bringing Tezzeret to justice for what he did with the Consortium, and joined the Gatewatch and has been rallying Planeswalkers for his new cause, bringing down Bolas. Ajani has had a pretty flat positive arc. He just wants what's best for the denizens of the plane. If people don't believe that's doable, then he convinces them. Ajani knows the truth. He even tells the Gatewatch on Kaladesh the truth that they can't take Bolas on Amonkhet, and he was right. Ajani has been shown to know better than most characters, and often he used that information to make the lives of others better. Alright, so next we have Teferi. Holy Heliod's beard! This guy has been through the damn ringer. Teferi is thousands of years old. To go over his whole story would take far too long for this video, but to give you the short version, Teferi was a kid going to the Stellarian Academy when Urza's time machine exploded, and he learned Chronomancy while stuck in a time rift. He ended up becoming a royal mage to his homeland of Zalfir, and then a guardian over all of Jamura. He fought in the Mirage Wars, phased Zalfir out of existence in order to protect it from the Phyrexians, only to fail in rephasing it back in at the loss of his spark. I think Teferi has had to learn some hard lessons when it comes to learning from failure. Bear in mind who his mentor was as well. I have no doubts that Teferi knows all too well how Urza's mistakes almost destroyed the multiverse. When we first see Teferi again for the first time in 60 years, we see him exactly as we left him in Time Spiral, still trying to find a way to phase Zalfir back into existence. Joyra has to coax him into taking his spark back. It shows that he's still trying to come to terms with the weight that he holds. It gnaws at him, I feel. I don't think Teferi's arc is over yet because he is still yet to do the thing and phase Zalfir back in. Teferi's character arc is an overall positive thing. As he grows older, he becomes more mature, and in his youth he makes a big decision that torments him as an adult, relatable, and well into his later years, whilst also trying to find a way to correct his own mistakes. Teferi has been confronted with an issue he can't solve with time, the one asset he has an endless resource of, all the time in the multiverse, and he can't accept failure. You can't get much crueler than that. So, with the Gatewatch all said and done, we come upon the final Planeswalker, none other than good old Snakeface himself, Nicol Bolas. So, Bolas' arc is fairly straightforward. Bolas was the weakest of 6 siblings, and 5 siblings, 1 cousin. So, he became hellbent on asserting his dominion over not just his siblings, but Dominaria as a whole, until he died physically to Tetsuo Umezawa, with his spirit stuck in the meditation plane. During Time Spiral, he was able to re-manifest a physical form, and shortly after, the mending occurred. So Bolas sought a way to reclaim his pre-mending power, blah blah, Conflux, blah blah, Eldrazi Titans, blah blah, Amonkhet, Immortal Sun, blah blah blah, jeez! You ever get the feeling you're repeating yourself? Bolas' goals haven't changed since he was a whelp, it's just his aims have. He wants control over everything, the multiverse as a whole, and with a pre-mending spark, he could shape it to his liking, taking his place as the pinnacle of power. Bolas has a flat, negative arc. He knows the truth, and he distorts it at his leisure to suit his own needs as he sees fit. Might I add, he is the perfect villain for the legs of Ajani and Gideon. There's a good amount of conflict, as he is everything they both hate. Ajani doesn't like him for 2 very good reasons. 1, he is the reason Jazal is dead. And 2, Bolas' plan doesn't hold any benefit to the multiverse as a whole, just himself. He is selfish in Ajani's eyes. He shouldn't have that power if he won't wield it with good intentions. Gideon sees it too. Bolas would use that power to bully where Gideon would use that power to protect others from those who would do harm. That makes for a very compelling conflict between our flat characters. One wants power for the sake of being a god, where the other two don't want him to have it for the sake of protecting the multiverse as a whole from someone who would use it for their own personal ends. This will be Bolas' undoing in the end. In trying to attain that power, Bolas has in fact angered most of the multiverse's planeswalkers. They've been in his pocket, they've been manipulated, coerced by him, and this is the last straw. They won't let him get away with this anymore, especially considering this whole plan calls for them to be collateral. And with that, everyone, that is the video. Tell me, what do you think in the comments below? Do you feel I may have mislabeled any of the Gatewatch or Bolas himself? Let me know how well you think I did. You're pretty good. If you want to continue the conversation, there's Discord server link below. Feel free to hit the invitation. That way we can continue the conversation even after this video. There's also a link to my Twitter if you want to go check that out. And if you want to revel with me and Xenagos, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, everyone, may the Lotus watch over you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some chicken nuggets to finish. Okay, bye. Yep. This is the end of the video. See you. Hey, got some nuggets?
Nuggets!
Jazzy.